Hi, this is Shane Starr from beautiful Irvine, California. Today I'm going to talk about what gets in the way of self-improvement for each personality type categorized under the 8 cognitive functions. So, to get in a little more detail, this is going to explore people's desire for self-improvement and what specifically gets in the way of that. Now, I've gone over how each type can improve at work or in relationships, but this is under the premise that you pretty much already know what you want to do to self-improve, but something is in the way of that. So it's kind of like prior to the steps of self-improvement. And in this video, or in my own theory, it's sort of a mixture of MBTI and socionics. So we're going to look at how people's lead function sort of, I don't want to say gets them into trouble, although it can do that, but to the detriment of the inferior function, which in socionics is the suggestive function. We're going to see how that can be a roadblock for each of the types. And the key takeaway from this video ahead of time is to find someone with the lead function of your inferior type. That's your 4th function or your 5th function in socionics. Find someone with that function at the top to help you. Really, it's a matter of focusing on something through the lens of our lead function while ignoring our inferior function in a way that's sort of apparent to everyone around us that is getting in the way of our self-improvement. So again, the way out is to find someone who's good at what you're not so good at, who can help you. So let's start. Extroverted sensing, SE. People with this lead function often have a hard time when they decide they want to self-improve. What happens is that what sounds like a good idea in the moment, while they get this like light bulb moment in their minds, they don't see down the road. They don't see the larger picture. And so what sounds good now, like I'm going to go to the gym every single day, from now on, that's it. For some of us that's realistic, but for most of us it's not. And an lead SE type, whether it's an ESTP or an ESFP, will oftentimes make these big proclamations. I'm going to quit all junk food altogether. I'm going to go to the gym every day. From now on, I'm going to make this or that improvement at work. And they don't realize that what sounds like a good decision right now is either going to be unsustainable in the long run, or it might even be a bad decision that'll burn them out. It might be a decision, an impulsive decision that, I'm going to break up with this person, or I'm going to start a new job and quit this old one, or whatever it is. They oftentimes don't see down the road. And the way to help them with their self-improvement is to discuss these ideas with someone with the lead function of their inferior function. This is introverted intuition, NI, and go over your plan with someone of that lead function, an INFJ or an INTJ. They will be able to help show you what might be wrong with your plans and be able to say, hey, listen, that might sound like a good idea now. It might be good for a week or so, but sooner or later you're going to run into problems, and here's why. And that'll help someone with lead SE make better decisions about how to strategize their self-improvement. All right, lead SI. This is, again, MBTI lead SI, which would be our ISTJs and ISFJs. And the biggest issue to self-improvement, and I can really feel this one, is fighting the urge to think that you're pretty much doing everything you need to do already. In other words, it's almost a stubbornness that you don't really need to improve. Everything's pretty much fine. This relationship, yeah, it's not perfect, but it could be worse, so I'm going to stick with it. Same with this job, or same with this workout routine, or same with this diet. It's like, no, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. I don't think anything else would be any better. And that can really get you in a rut. I can even use some personal examples here. Like a lot of times I've missed opportunities for self-improvement because I simply didn't think I needed to improve in a particular area. And that's what can get lead SI types into trouble. So the way to get through this is to talk to an ENTP or an ENFP, someone with lead extroverted intuition, which is the SI lead's fourth function or suggestive function in socionics. Talk to someone who can sort of open your perspective to other alternatives, things that, hey, you know what? I know this is working for you, but you might want to try this other way. This might work even better. I know you think this diet's going well, but if you tried this, you would see even better results. Your relationship seems to be okay, but I notice you're hitting a few roadblocks here and there. Try this or that strategy, and you'll notice some self-improvement in your management of that relationship. I think that's the key for lead SI types. Find someone with that lead NE to open your mind to other perspectives, and then you have to actually try them out. You can't just say, yeah, okay, that sounds good, but thanks, but no thanks. You have to actually give it a try to see if it works. All right, lead TE people, the most people about self-improvement probably out of all the types. That's our ENTJs and our ESTJs. And they usually don't have a problem with strategizing their self-improvement, whether it's diet, management of relationships, work. The issue with them is that they are doing it for this drive or this vision, this part of themselves that they're not really in touch with. And I think oftentimes, as a lot of the stereotypes in other videos you can watch on YouTube will tell you, they get to the end of the road or maybe in the middle of the road and they realize, what is this all about? What am I even doing? Why am I doing this? In someone like my own case, not that I think I'm lead TE, but I know it's up there. It would be like, okay, Shane, you're doing this workout every day. You're doing your diet, managing little treats here and there. You're driving yourself really hard, getting up so early in the morning, going to bed early at night. What's it all for? Why don't you take a step back and enjoy life for a little bit? Like day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year even, you can find yourself as a lead or even high user of TE, just really exerting yourself for something that you're not even sure if that's what you want. You just think, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I have to do. This is what success looks like. And you don't even know if it's something that is success for you personally. So the way to get in better touch with what you really want, which will help you better choose and strategize your areas of self-improvement, is to talk to someone with the lead function of your inferior function. That would be a lead FI type, an INFP, or an ISFP in MBTI, and talk to them about what you're doing, and maybe they can offer you some help in getting more in touch with yourself. And then you realize, hey, you know what? Maybe this diet thing I'm doing, maybe I should give myself a weekend off. That might help me appreciate the diet more and help me join life a little bit. Maybe I'm driving myself at work so much, maybe it's time for a vacation. You know, that it's not a sin to take a break. In fact, you know, you're supposed to take a break every Sunday if you're religious. So get in touch with someone with that lead FI or strong FI who can help you get more in touch with what really matters to you and what will make you feel good and more happy in the long run. Okay, let's go to lead TI, introverted thinking. I have some close people to me who are lead TI, and I find that sort of like lead SIs, they can be stubborn and being attached to their way of doing things. But I think the big thing that gets in the way of lead TI with their self-improvement is they can get so much in their heads that, you know, you can have a plan and a strategy that's logically sound that just takes you up a theoretical staircase to where you're actually in the clouds, pie in the sky, doing something that is totally incredulous to the rest of the world. And I think that what does this look like in practice? You know, like a weird workout routine or some strange diet that you know, sometimes these actually do work, but you know, something that is so esoteric and different, and you can explain it to anyone. Well, this is the science behind it, and you know, A leads to B, B leads to C, C leads to D. The problem is by the time you get to Z, you're like weird. You know what I mean? So I think the key for a lead TI type is when you have an idea for self-improvement, you should run it by someone who's more in touch with the general population, someone who's a lead FE, like an ENFJ or an ESFJ. Run your ideas past them, your idea for a new podcast or a book or a diet or a workout strategy. Get in touch with what other people have done and are doing, what's been successful, what has failed and why it's failed. And that will help you gauge your strategy for self-improvement a little bit better. I just think, long story short, I think lead TI types can sort of get too much in their heads. This is our ISTPs and our INTPs in MBTI. And consulting with a lead FE type can help them with strategizing their self-improvement methods to sort of, they already make logical sense, yes, but help them make a little more practical sense. All right, lead FI. These are our introverted feelers. Now, strangely enough, this is going to sound similar to the lead TI. This is our ISFPs and our INFPs. And these types are really good at understanding what they want and what is meaningful to them. The problem is that they oftentimes don't link together a practical way of realizing those visions or those heartfelt wishes. In other words, I think lead FI types are very good at having an idea of what matters and what they want to do for self-improvement. The problem is that they lack the means with which to do it. You know, it would be similar to someone saying, all right, I know I need to get in better shape, and I really care about honoring my body and only eating what's best. But then the lead FI type with these sorts of thoughts will run into the problem of not doing a practical plan to realize that dream or goal. So what will help them towards that end is consulting with someone with lead TE, a lead, an ENTJ or an ESTJ, someone who can say, okay, I see you want to improve your diet. Here's a list of foods to cut out altogether. Here's a list of foods that you can have every once in a while. Here is the approximate times that you should probably eat, and for each meal you can choose from these foods. Here's what it'll look like on your budget. This is how you can do it in a manageable way where you're not asking too much of yourself where you fail, but you're doing enough to realize tangible change. And someone like that can really help a lead FI realize his or her plans. And it doesn't have to be diet, obviously. It can be, starting a business. It can be improving at work. It can be improving a relationship. So if you're a lead FI and you have an idea of how you would like to be, a great way to manage that is to talk to an ENTJ or an ESTJ and get their help with a practical plan to realize those goals. All right, lead FEs. That's our ESFJs and ENFJs. What gets in the way of their self-improvement? Oftentimes, I think, there's going to be overlap with a lot of these types. I see in a lot of the lead FE people I know, they do search for self-improvement, but they lack a theoretical idea of how that plan actually looks. It's always something vague and general, and it's usually something that other people introduced to them, or something they saw in a podcast or read in a book. It's like, oh, that looks interesting, yeah, I want to do that. And then because they lack the theoretical framework to actualize something like that and see what it looks like in its particular aspects or parts, it sort of just vanishes slowly like smoke or something. So I think in order for self-improvement, if you're a lead FE type, it's best to get the help of a lead TI type, an ISTP or an INTP in Myers-Briggs, and ask for their help on what of your ideas actually makes sense. Okay, so you might have this idea that I'm going to delve more into something weird, like it could be something like, let's say, astrology, for instance. And this video is not about being critical of astrology. I'm not into it, but I know some of the people who watch typology videos are. It would be good to consult with a lead TI type just to see, okay, so you have this idea that astrology is going to help you. Let's talk that out and see what this looks like logically. So this is the theory behind it. This is the beliefs that come from the theory, and how does practicing this belief help you in your life? And if you can come up with a strategy that aligns with that, more power to you. And I think you can apply that to relationships, diet, workout programs, improvement at work. I think those things will be better crystallized and honed in with the help of a lead TI type to, again, make it make sense. You need to have your goals have a logical aspect to them, so that they're not I don't know how else to say it, so that they're not worthless. You want worthwhile goals, right? A goal should be for self-improvement that gets you to a new place where you'll be healthier, happier, more productive, etc. Okay. And, obviously lead TIs will be able to help you with that logical line of thought. Moving on. Extroverted intuition, that's our lead ENFPs and lead our ENFPs and ENTPs, lead NE types. I have a lot of ENFPs in my life. Perhaps more people close to me are ENFPs than any other type. And I have lots of experience with them, and I have lots of experience helping them and them helping me. The biggest problem with them, they always have great ideas for self-improvement. A lot of them are creative, exciting, they make sense. The biggest problem for a lead NE is actually sticking with one of these things long enough to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Every single ENFP I've known, and I would extend this to many ENTPs. I don't think they have this problem as much, but they do share it. They have a great idea, they start it, and then they just quit. It's like they get a great workout plan, they go to the gym a couple days, and then they stop going. They get a great diet. Oh, it's someone's birthday. Okay, well, forget the diet. They get a good workout program. Oh, it's raining today. Never mind. I'm having relationship problems. I need to put a stop on everything else in my life right now. Or, an improvement at work, and then it's really great for 3 or 4 days in a row, and then next thing you know, it's back to how it was before. What will really help a lead NE snap out of that, rock skipping on water, going from one self-improvement strategy to another, nothing sticks, is having a lead SI in MBTI, that's a ISTJ or an ISFJ, to sort of keep them grounded and say, hey, look, you have a lot of great ideas. Here's a couple of really good ones that will help improve you all the way around. Let's work on it, get some routines going, have a list of things to do, check off the boxes every day, keep doing it for a month or more until it becomes an ingrained habit, and then you don't need the list anymore. And I'm getting excited thinking about it because of all the ENFPs in my life I can help. For a lead SI, it's so easy. It's like, here's what you want to do, here's the steps you can take, A, B, C. It's linear. You check each box off as you go. You do it in a timely manner. You know how to get from A to Z. It's easy steps. Go for it. Make it happen. For a workout program, it can be as simple as something like 10 push-ups a day. You can do that if you're upset. You can do it if you're tired. You can do it if you're sick. At least I hope you can. But something easy. Jordan Peterson calls it making your bed. The philosophy that, it's really not about making your bed. It's about task management. And some people watching this will say, well, you're talking about TE instead of SI. In MBTI, we're talking about SI. I think so maybe some overlap with TE. The actual doing of it is TE, but the organization that leads to the structure, which leads to the plan, and finally the execution of that plan, it's an SITE movement, I would say. And for lead NEs, this can help them more than anything else. Not get started, they don't need help with that, but actually stick with a plan of self-improvement long enough to realize their goals. Okay, last but not least, our lead NI types, INFJs and INTJs in MBTI. They have inferior SE, that's extrovert sensing, how can they best self-improve? The best way for them to improve is to get the help of someone with Lead SC with, and this can be long story short, to get them to act. Lead NIs are great at many, if not most, of the things I've already discussed. They're usually intelligent. They are master strategists. They know what they want. They know how to get it, and they make an elaborate plan, and then they procrastinate. They sit there and keep planning. They keep refining the plan. Okay, you know, I have this new workout program. Wait, I think I'm going to do this on Fridays instead of that. And because I changed it, and I'm going to wait and start fresh next week. And then next week comes, and then they're tweaking it some more, perfecting it, you know, like, well, this or that's happening in my life, so I'm going to put it off. We'll wait till summer's over, and then that'll be a good time to start. And then, you know, again, like I said earlier in the video, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and before you know it, your plans never came to anything. So if you are an INFJ or you are an INTJ, consult the help of an ESFP or an ESTP and have them smack you into shape. Get it going. Get moving on your plan. The plan's already good enough. You can adjust as you go. It doesn't have to be perfect to start. You know, the right time is always somewhere off in the future. You know, there comes a point in life you have to, I have a saying, but you know, you have to either, you know, jump or get off the diving board. There's a better analogy. So if you're a Lead NI, use the help of an ESTP or an ESFP to help you get started. Your imperfect plan's probably better than the other type's refined plans. So again, you can adjust as you go. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. It was long enough. Time for me to go to work. Have a great day. Peace out.